What is going on YouTube? Chris with Journos Comics and Pop Culture. Today we're going to be exploring key comics and what this means. And yes, we are still having to break down what it truly means to give a comic book the title of key. I've done a video in the past discussing what makes a comic book a key. I'm going to take a specific example today and break this down to try to make things a bit more clear, folks. Before we get into it, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the links in the description below, including the link to today's sponsor, PopCultureZone.com. Check them out, folks, for all your online comic needs. I'm going to leave a 60-second clip at the end of the video for you guys to check out. Definitely check out that link, PopCultureZone.com. Thank you so much for sponsoring the video today. Now let's get into this topic of discussion. Key comics. What does it mean? Seems obvious? Maybe not. What do I have here, folks? I have a post that somebody left in the Comic Book Speculation and Investing, CBSI, community page on Facebook. Yes, the fun place of Facebook. But I love what this individual posted. We're going to read it. And obviously, you can see down there, this is Punisher Annual number 2. Now, let's read what this individual said. If you've seen the trailer for Thor Love and Thunder, you've noticed they have included a scene that matches a comic panel exactly. That was pretty awesome. In the case of Midnight Suns or Punisher or whatever Moon Knight we get next, who believes that we might see a scene with this exact image or very similar? It is, after all, the first encounter of the two characters in comics. Key. Now, how they put key down there is one thing, but look at this book, and you guys can't see the whole thing. This is a Punisher Annual number 2 and a CGC 9.9. CGC 9.9. This is the first meeting of Moon Knight and the Punisher. I'm going to bring up some of the comments, folks, and of course, I'm not putting anyone on blast. That's why I covered up the names here. We're using this as a learning experience, but here's a couple comments. One individual stated, "Not a key." And it makes me laugh how many people are trying so hard to make it one. All right, then somebody replied here stating, "I know, man. Even the guys that run the key issue site think it's a key." And if you guys can see down here, this is, yes, Key Collector Comics app. Here's the book. It's on the app, Punisher Annual number 2, and it says here, you know, first meeting between Moon Knight and the Punisher. All right, folks, before we start fighting with each other and, you know, pulling out the pitchforks and throwing the monkey turd, what is this? Is this a key? Is it not a key? Is this guy posting on Facebook saying, "Key comic, I want to see this happen in the MCU"? Is he out of his mind? Is Key Collector completely off their rocker? Now, I do have my personal opinion. Do you guys want to hear it? Do you want to hear it? Well, first, before I give you my personal opinion, we're going to go to that thing that we like to call the dictionary. We do have computers and smartphones now where we can access dictionary.com, Merriam-Webster.com, and we have the definition to these words right at our fingertips. Now, key has a lot of definitions. We can use it as a noun. We can use it as a verb. We can use it as an adjective. And when it comes to comic books, folks, we are using it as an adjective to explain the context of a comic book. So we're going to go right here. Here it is. Key, definition, adjective. Simply put, essential, central, important. In the examples, a key person in the company, a key industry, a key variable, however you want to use it. Essential, central, important. I'm going to read that one more time. Key means essential or central or important. So Let's go back to this book. Is Punisher Annual 2 a key comic? Well, you have to ask yourself, does it have either something that's essential, central, or important? Now, you could bring your personal opinion into this and say, well, I don't care about Punisher, I don't care about Moon Knight, or you could just say, I don't care about that comic. It's not essential to me. I could care less. It's not important to me. I could care less. But when we define these comic books, it's not that it's important to you. We have to use the proper context. The proper context for calling a comic book a key is asking yourself, is it essential, central, or important to that comic book? Meaning to the story, to what's on the pages of the comic book, or even on the cover. And folks, no matter what you think, the meeting of two really iconic characters with cult followings, the meeting of those two characters for the first time in a comic book is absolutely one of these things. Now, is it essential? I mean, you can argue that it's not really essential because, well, what does essential mean? Like, and then we can even click on this. We can click on essential, and it brings up the definition. Absolutely necessary, right? Is it absolutely necessary? Not really. So maybe it's not essential. Now, let's go back. Is it central? And when we look at central, of course, in this situation, we can look at saying if it's, they're saying, is it at the near, is it in the center of something? But we're talking about the center of the story. Is it at the center of the story? And we can bring in even this. Is it constituting something from which other related things proceed or upon which they depend? And the answer to that is yes. And that's the story arc. That's the story. These two characters meeting for the first time is absolutely central to everything that's inherent in this comic book. Now we can even ask, is it important? Now, we know what the word important means, but we're going to look at it. Of much or great significance or consequence. Mattering much. Yes. The first meeting of these two characters is very important to the comic book. Is it important to you as a collector, meaning you have to spend a bunch of money on it? Well, that's a different question, and we're going to get to that. This comic book is absolutely a key comic book because it has a very important and central aspect that's going on, and that's the meeting of these two iconic characters for the first time. Now, let's look at another example. Then I'm going to talk about value, because I think that's one thing that people get mixed up with. Like, these people that are saying this isn't a key, and I'm laughing at anybody trying to make it one. Just because we're calling it a key comic doesn't mean that it's valuable. We're going to bring up another example. Here's the mass-produced, one of the most mass-produced comics ever. What was it? 8 million? X-Men #1 from 1991. Hey, look, cover price has it as a key comic. Why is it a key comic? Because it's a first appearance. It's a first appearance of the X-Men Blue Team. So now, remember, what does key mean? Essential, central, or important. And any first appearance is absolutely essential because it's essential to that character showing up for the first time. It's a central point of the comic book and of that character. And it's important to the story and the character themselves, or the characters. This is absolutely a key comic. But if we look at the fair market value for a raw comic, it's only sitting at $4. This book is not a valuable comic book. And this is what I have to say to anybody questioning the validity of calling books like these keys, and to these individuals right here. Calling these books keys doesn't mean we are stamping some type of value onto them, that we are automatically saying, oh, it's a key comic. That means it's worth money, or it's worth investing in, or it's even worth your attention. Absolutely not. And I'll refer back, and a lot of you that watch my channel, you're going to love this. I'm going to refer back to Amazing Spider-Man 623, the first appearance of Simple Simon. Who is Simple Simon? Most of you probably don't know, and you probably care less to know. Is it important to us as collectors? Hell to the no, no, no. We don't care. Simple Simon was some random guy that showed up in 2 comic books in the backstory of the comics and then never showed up again. I mean, is it central to the story? A little bit, because I believe, what was it? Mr. Negative, hired, I forget who it was that hired this guy to I don't know, hurt Spider-Man or something like that. So, I mean, he was kind of central to those 2 issues that he was in and never showed up again. But it's a first appearance of a character, so it makes it essential to that character. So ultimately, you could call it a key comic. But it doesn't mean that anybody wants that comic. It has a key variable, and that means the character shows up for the first time. But who cares about Simple Simon? So therefore, we are not going to add value to it. So again, when you take essential, central, or important to the comic book, you have to weigh what that means to how you value that comic book yourself. Is it important to you? So while maybe the first appearance of Simple Simon can be labeled a key because it has some type of variable that's important to that issue or that character showing up for the first time, but if nobody cares about that character, it's not going to be worth any money. But the first meeting of Moon Knight and Punisher, there's a lot of Moon Knight fans out there. There's a lot of Punisher fans out there. So we might be willing to pay a little more for that book. And that book isn't a very valuable book. You know, I think high sales of that book go for $15, $20. Whereas I think the average sits anywhere between $8 or $9. I recently had it on a top 25 comics to invest in for under $25. We go to X-Men #1. You know, people value this book. It's nostalgic. We love X-Men. We love Jim Lee. And it's the first appearance of the X-Men Blue Team. But, I mean, we don't value it so much that our demand for it exceeds supply or drives the value up to some crazy price. No, I mean, we're on average paying $4. Maybe in a near mint raw copy, maybe somebody might be willing to pay $10. Who knows? We're not breaking our bank over it. We're not going crazy over it. But a Hulk 181, the first appearance of Wolverine, first full appearance, or a UF4, first appearance of Miles Morales, we're going to demand that key comic because not only is it key, is it having something that's essential to the comic or something that's important or a center focus to that comic. It's important to us as collectors because we value the character and we look at those key factors and say, those key factors are more important to us than the key factors of the first X-Men Blue Team or Simple Simon. So we're going to pay more for it. And there's less out there, so it drives the supply and demand aspect. I mean, if this book right here only had 70,000 print run, like UF4, instead of 8 million, I bet we'd be paying more for this book because there wouldn't be that many out there. I could see this book being, you know, maybe a $50 book in a high grade raw, maybe even a little more if there was only 70,000 out there next to millions. Who knows? Folks, I'm going to say it one more time. A key comic doesn't mean that it has monetary value. The monetary value depends on how much importance we find in the book, how much we want to demand the book, and how that equates to the supply that's available for us. And that's going to drive the value. So I would encourage you all to open your mind to looking at the simple Textbook definition of what key means and understanding that's why we apply it to these books. Don't jump into these Facebook groups and start attacking people because they're calling a book a key, even when the importance of that book may seem minor to how you value the book. And it's that simple. Not all keys are created equally at all. That's the video for today, folks. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And again, if you aren't subscribed, please take some time to do so. Be well. And of course, folks, we're going to leave you with a small clip to popculturezone.com. Popculturezone.com is an online shop focusing on hot new comics, including exclusive and incentive variants, CGC graded comics, and tons of other inventory, including pop culture toys and other collectibles, all at low and competitive prices. PopCultureZone.com ships all over the US. And if you are buying raw comics, they offer flat rate shipping of only $4.99. That's right, $4.99. Absolute craziness, right? And there's no taxes included, excluding New Jersey. Pop Culture Zone is also on eBay, where they hold a 100% positive feedback rating with over 8,000 completed transactions for this year alone. Make sure to check out the link to their website below, as well as their eBay link, so be sure to give them a follow there as well.